This is the Master Grade Turn A Gundam, probably my new favorite Master Grade Gunpla, but he didn't always look this way. See, I've always loved the design of the Turn A Gundam and wanted to do something special for it, so I decided when it was finally time to build this guy that I was going to do something I'd never done before, airbrushing. And so that's exactly what I did with this, and I'm super excited, super ready to show you guys the results. Hope you guys enjoy this type of content, and if you do, make sure you subscribe, because we're in for a long one, so buckle up and let's jump into it. It's not often that the box of a Gunpla is almost just as cool as the Gunpla itself, but that's definitely not the case here. The design on this thing is so sick. Not only do we get to see the Turn A and some sick designs and some neat line work, but we also get to see the artist of this Gunpla, that being Sid Mead. Now, Sid Mead is like a futuristic artwork designer. All of his works are pretty sick, pretty cool, depicting just a really unique version of what the future could be. There's so much sick line work everywhere. Everything just looks real. I don't even know how else to describe it, but it looks lived in, it looks awesome, and of course, all of this gets transformed into his version of the Gundam, that being the Turn A Gundam. And this futuristic style, it's weird because you would think, Gundam being Gundam, it would be present in everything, but it's really present in this version. I don't know. In the manual, we get some really sick line work throughout this whole thing, just of different versions, different areas of the Turn A. Of course, we get this really nice middle page spread. And for those that don't know, the Turn A Gundam was actually the 100th Master Grade Gunpla ever created. So we get some really nice, I think just like a thank you letter in here, if I'm not mistaken, just about being able to have this as the Gundam. This is the most unique runner I've ever seen, by the way. Look how symmetrical it is. I think this is just a cool way to incorporate the design of the Gunpla into the build itself. Obviously, the Turn A being asymmetrical, we get to see that in at least one of the runners. The rest, all kind of basic. We get your standard white with, of course, the Master Grade cow. And then we have some basic other runners that have some of the other bits of the inner frame. The shield, of course, don't worry about that crack. It just kind of came that way, unfortunately. And a lot of these other runners are kind of your standard affair for a early 2000s Master Grade. That being said, there are some really unique pieces in here that have a lot of detail on them. I'm assuming these are pieces for the inner chest bit there. Just a lot of cool, unique bits. Some off-white here for some of the internals, I believe, of the Turn A Gundam. Again, we're getting some really cool details on here for some of the shield pieces and some of the weapon pieces, and just some of the internals at all. Again, it's going to be a shame that we have to cover some of this up because it looks pretty darn sick. The armor pieces come in these really cool, unique kind of sides, and even the beams are just different. They're just straight like pipes almost. And then, of course, we have the famous or infamous mustache there, as well as some dry rub decals, which I'm a fan of. I'm a fan of this entire kit. Let's get this thing built. I am so excited. This is a Master Grade that is both not like any other and a lot like a lot of other Master Grades I've built. Some aspects, like the head, kind of build up pretty similar, where you're going to have the front, the back, and of course the faceplate region of it. But then other bits, like the shoulder, very, very unique, and I've never built anything quite like them. They have this weird circular bit that kind of connects the back of the shoulder armor to the front of it, and that all connects to the arm in a really, really unique way with this back peg back here. It's very sturdy, but not like anything else really. The arms, again, asymmetrical, so they look very cool. The legs are another thing where it's kind of this early 2000s Master Grade inner frame. There is a little bit of something there, but it's weird because it's so light, I guess you would describe it. It's not really a full inner frame, and it doesn't really feel like one either. But once all the armor is on, you couldn't even really tell that there was an inner frame, because look at all of this exposed stuff back here in the back. It's so sick looking. I know that's just part of the design, but it really makes it look so great. You know what else is another great part of the design? This darn mustache. Forget what other people say. I think this is such a cool design and really makes this guy stand out so much. I don't know why I was dumb and didn't know that you could put that peg in for the beam rifle. The shield, again, super sick. Look at all this moving details back here. There's so much of it. Super excited. Really, this ball and chain here, really cool. I don't think I will be using it much. I think these weapons are cool, but I don't ever know how to really display or pose them. But I can display and pose them with like the beam rifle and such. Again, super, super sick kit. And I loved this guy so much. And if I wasn't going to do any airbrushing to him, I would think this guy is almost perfect out of the box. Obviously, some panel line goes a long way, especially whenever you have cool gimmicks like the little cockpit that's well down Not in the chest, let's just say, because in the chest we actually have some other stuff that we'll get to here in a bit. But what's other cool about this guy is the legs. Look at this, the kind of movement. It almost looks like they bend backwards. I don't even know how to describe it really. But I can describe the chest here. Because there's not a cockpit for the pilot, this leaves the chest to be hollow, where we can do a lot of cool things. Like there's these missile carriers in here that open up in a really unique way. But I gotta come clean, I did lie a little bit. There is a pilot inside the chest here. Unfortunately, he just looks a little different than most pilots we're used to. Again, part of the design of the Turn A, just a little different. And I know that that's kind of a part of the reason why people don't like the Turn A pilots, just because they look different. But hey, I don't judge, I think they look cool. The chest on the bottom as well has these cool opening missile gimmicks here. Not a whole lot, but just enough to really make this guy stand out. But I think I'm ready to make this guy stand out more with some airbrushing. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I've never airbrushed once before in my entire life, so I was a bit nervous, a bit excited to do this because I've always seen, you know, people's works where they do airbrushing and things look amazing. I've only ever done hand brushing to some success here and there, but other times it can be a pain, it can be a hassle, can take forever. So to start off, I did it like I would with brushing, and I made some surfacer. And to do that, I decided to mix some of this Mr. Color leveling thinner as well as a little bit of Mr. Surfacer 500 gray. Now, obviously I didn't want to be pouring this big old bottle the entire time, so I tried to do this little trick that I saw, I think either on a TikTok or a YouTube video, where you dab the toothpick and get it all wet, get it in the solution of whatever you're going to do, and use it as kind of a siphon almost, to where the thinner can flow down through it. And now this worked for some moderate success, but unlike me, you might notice a giant puddle forming underneath my hand. Yeah, after a while I just gave up and just kind of poured it in regularly, so I guess try this at your own risk. And to keep things, you know, tidy, keep things neat, I decided to label the thinner that I made as well as the date. Obviously just used a little masking tape on the bottle, nothing too crazy here. I'm also just now realizing I didn't film any of the making of the surfacer. Basically, I just mixed 1 to 1/5 surfacer and thinner, squeeze that all into that bottle, shake it up really well, and that was that. So I don't know why I don't have that, I apologize, but now I'm just making the white paint here, which is going to be the same kind of thing. I'm going to put a bunch of white paint in there, and then use a little bit of that, or not a little bit, a decent amount of that thinner on top of it, again, about 1 to 1/1/5 ratio. And once they're in, you're going to want to give it a really, really good mix. With everything shaken up, we'll get it into the airbrush canister, give it one last good stir just to be safe, and we're finally ready to get started with some airbrushing. I'm going to use these spoons as a little bit of a test just to see, make sure that the white is the way I want. You know, I don't want the splotchiness, or I don't want it too thick, too light, too dark, too whatever. So we're going to make sure it looks good on these spoons first. I was pretty happy with the colors, so now all that was left to do was make sure each piece was up on its little alligator clip. Now it's time to get to painting them. Again, with this being my first time airbrushing, I didn't want to go for anything crazy, so I was just going for that basic pre-shaded look. So that's why we did the surface underneath, and then for the whites, obviously it's kind of hard to do a pre-shade with the white with another white. So I went pretty heavy in these spots where the pre-shade normally would be, and then just gave it a complete white over top coat over it all to kind of give it that white, light gray look, and I think they turned out pretty darn cool. And then once I've got all the paint onto the pieces, both the pre-shade and the post-shade, I give it a nice little glossy top coat just to give it that good feel and to lock all the paint in so we don't have any chipping later on down the line. It's kind of hard to pick up on video, but I really like how this effect turned out on some of these pieces, and you can really tell it on these small ones here. This easily took the longest out of any other parts of the airbrushing, obviously because there's so much more white than any other color on this kit. It took a lot of work, but I think it turned out great, and now it's finally time to move on to the colors. And as you can see, we did a little bit of red, and so we're going to finish up with some blue here. But we'll say, ran into a little bit of a problem. We mixed the paints decently well. you know, a 1 to 1.5 mix on the blue and the thinner. It was already airbrush paint, so it was already pretty thin as is, but somehow my paint was coming out really splotchy. I don't know if you can see it on the spoon here, but there's those darker bits of blue that are splotching all over, and I did not want this on the kit, and it was not coming out right, so I decided to clean the airbrush, see if that was a mistake, because the paint was already thin enough. So I gave it a real good deep cleaning, and then of course to clean the needle, I just got a cotton swab, dipped it in some thinner, and then just lightly brushed it to try to get any paint off, and if it was any clogs, just to get rid of it. I also did a little clogged needle thing throughout the whole thing. Should be fine, right? Nope. And the problem was not too thick of paint. The problem was not that this thing needed to be cleaned. The problem was this thing was a piece of garbage. Literally, look at this. The nozzle tip screw was literally just cut in half, just busted in half. I don't know if it's just because it was bad quality or what, but it busted. I could not deal with it anymore. So I did what the only reasonable thing I could do was, and go out and get a Neo Iwata, which is an amazing, it was a game changer. Literally, this thing leagues better. Not only is there dual action where you can press down on the brush for the amount of air or the amount of paint, it just is so much better. This solves literally all of my issues. And it was so good, in fact, that I found out that my paint mixture was a little light, honestly. It was squirting everywhere and not staying as consistent or as thick as it needed to, because I had made it so light for that other brush that I couldn't handle it. So this, again, leagues better. You know, obviously with this being my first time, still not the best, but if you can, go for a much more expensive, or at least a not cheap airbrush. It's a world of a difference. But with a good airbrush finally in hand, I felt much more relieved, and I felt much more empowered with my airbrushing skills. Everything looked so much more smooth. The paint looked like it just fit onto the pieces so much more nicer. Everything about this was just so much better. And again, with everything all painted up, both pre and post shaded, give everything a nice glossy finish again. And just look at these pieces. I love the moving color on this. I don't even know how else I would describe it. I know this is kind of the experience everyone would get with these paints, but I just love it so much. I feel like it ups my game tenfold in just this one go. But with everything all painted, post shaded, pre shaded, glossy coat, we get all the pieces out. And now it's the fun part. We get to reassemble this kit from the ground up. And I gotta say, there's one thing about building a kit, but there's one thing about building the kit for the second time that just really makes you appreciate the inner workings, all the detail that goes into every bit, from the arms to the legs to the head, everything about this kit. I love it so much, and I can't wait to get this guy weathered and decaled, so let's get to it. But before we get to it, I just want to show off the painted state. I could have left it here. Oh my gosh, airbrushing again. It's just so crazy how much better this looks than just just dry brushing. I love this. I love this kit. Oh my god, I just want to eat it. I don't even know how to describe it. I know it's kind of messy to be all this up about my own work, but I love it. Let's weather it. I don't know about you guys, but there is still something that's just so breathtaking about doing some panel line work. Just watching the ink flow, especially on top of all the paint. I was really worried that it would be kind of splotchy, it wouldn't go correctly with it, but just look at it. I'm just gonna let this breathe for itself here. And since I was going to weather this, I wasn't too worried about it getting a little too dirty, because that's obviously what I'm going to do here, is just make it a little bit more dirty, look a little bit more weathered. So if we got a little gray here and there, I think that just kind of adds to the color. So I wasn't too worried about making this look super clean. One thing I really appreciate about the Turn A, both it and its weapons design, there's just panel lines everywhere. Honestly, if you love panel lining, this kit is worth it for that alone. Everywhere there's just so much extra hidden detail that once you put that ink in, it just flows and just pops to life. I mean, just look at this before and after on this arm here. On the right, there's still some detail there, but you can't hardly see anything until you panel line it. It is just immaculate, and this whole kit is immaculate too. And I want to go ahead and get ahead of this. I know a lot of people are going to shun me, going to say this is a sin, what I'm doing, putting this Tamiya panel liner directly onto the parts up top. I have never had any problems with it. People say that the plastic is brittle, that it'll crack easier. I have never had a single issue with any of this on any of my kits. And I do this with a whole lot of them. So I don't know if it's just older model kits that do it or what. Someone explain to me or show me any examples of this, please, because I haven't, and I just think it makes this kit look awesome. So not to take away from just how great this kit is, though. Again, I don't know if you've been paying attention or not, but look at the back of these shoulders, the back of the arms, just the back in general. Everywhere there is a piece of detail. It's just waiting to be seen, and it's insane. Like, I don't get how people don't like this look at all. To me, this is easily one of, if not my favorite, new mobile suit designs. But what's not one of my favorite things about this kit is the decals. Obviously, with so much line work going on everywhere, kind of hard to find spot for some of these decals. So I had to reserve most of them for the shield and for the beam rifle. I've got a couple on the legs, but really not too much. They are pretty cool ones, but again, very limited. And when it came to the weathering on this guy, I was not going for anything specific, just a kind of general wear and tear, brown, black smudge on a lot of it. And I really like how it turned out. I didn't get the best video of me putting on the weathering, but I think it turned out pretty good, and you can see it here in the final thoughts section. Without a doubt, this is my new favorite Gunpla I've ever built and put together. For one, just the amount of work that has gone into it has made this look so astonishingly... don't pay attention to that. It's made this look so much better than almost any other Gunpla. Oh, actually, yeah, better than every other Gunpla I've built. For one, just the whites on this make it look so much more realistic. The dirt everywhere just makes it look that much better. Look at the beam rifle. I usually don't care about the weapons on this thing, but oh my goodness, just this little nice metallic bit, and here the sticker, it can go obviously in and out. Oh my god, I love it. And I feel the exact same way about this big boat of a shield. Look at this. Oh, I don't know, again, this might just be me fawning over my own work, but everything from the decal to the paint to the weathering, and look at, oh my gosh, look at all of the metallics on this side, dog. I can't even help myself. I know this isn't even as good as it really could look, but it looks so darn good from everything else that I've ever built. I mean, just look at how this guy started. Again, a terrific looking kit in every regard, but it just looks like a plastic model kit. And looking back at it now, even just with the paint, I don't think that was enough. I still like how this paint turned out, but it needed the full weathering effect. And so I'm just gonna say it, this easily gets 5 out of 5 Zagox or A tier, S tier, whatever our damn system is, dog. This is the tops for me right now, from the build, to design, to the painting, to the time I had with it, everything splendid. I highly recommend getting this kit. I highly recommend getting an airbrush as well. Speaking of which, let me know how my airbrushing skills can improve. Please, because I want them to be so much better for my next kit. What should I do my next airbrushing kit on? These are all questions that I would love for you to answer down in the comments below. And if you enjoyed, why not subscribe or down there? I would appreciate it, and I appreciate you guys watching until the end. I will see you guys next time. Peace.